Thanks, Laskin Corla. Minister, you said in your speech that it's not the case and it's not true, and it was said in the Dáil incorrectly, that you did not order or offer extra tests against medical advice. So who did advise you? I don't think you said that. Okay. And did they not advise you that as to, was there any cost kind of a benefit analysis done? So there seems to have been a 35% increase in take-up, either through that offer or through general heightened awareness, if you look at the figures that have been given. So did you or the Chief Medical Officer not realise that you'd actually have to put extra resources in place when such an offer was made? What extra resources did you put in place or check with the labs? And I think the fundamentals of this does go down to what control we have over the whole testing process. Because it's somebody asked, did you check with Quest Laboratory whether they recruited extra testers? I mean, the fact that we even have to ask, that question, that you didn't know that, this boils down to the outsourcing and privatisation of cervical cancer testing. It's at the root of the problem, because we can't question these labs, at least with the public health system, for all their faults. We are able to get answers. We don't even know, and we know this from Scally, where a lot of the labs were even doing their tests. Up to a third of them were being outsourced and re-outsourced to places like Honolulu. Scally couldn't actually be sure exactly where. So you're saying that there's a low clinical risk, and you've been asked to give us an assessment of how low from the passing of the date that the labs were, breaching. So can you give us more information on that? Because one would have thought a cytology test that the date would actually matter, and 100 days and 10 days, there's a huge difference. Now, some of the problems that were highlighted in the Scally report, I still don't feel you've given answers on. So, for example, some of them that were identified, Quest Laboratories, and I have to say an awful lot of problems seem to flow and emanate from Quest Laboratories. They identified that they only had a false negative reading rate, this is according to Scally Chapter 6, of 3.19%, but the Scally report identified the rate as 17.6%. We still don't know what is the difference in the assessment, and we assume it may be explained by labs in different countries with different testing and definitions of abnormality being used, which was one of the problems that Scally identified, that there was different levels of accreditation. The other issue, Minister, is cost. Why did cost become an increasingly important consideration when contracts were being awarded to different labs? We read that in 2008 cost was 20% of the criteria, but by 2012 it was 40%. It had doubled. There was a bailout, there was an austerity juggernaut underway. Costs had to be cut. And are you seriously suggesting that there was no impact on those tests and the efficacy of those tests from cost being made such a high criteria and changed to such a high criteria? By 2016, there were actually competitions to see if 80% of could be the criteria for cost. And again, Quest Diagnostics, their profits have, risen exponentially. I want to finish, Minister, by asking a key question now. Is the HPV testing. The government is fond of saying we're cutting edge, we're one of the first countries. Why would that not be brought back into public ownership and control as part of our public health system? There is no need, for example, for the number of cytologists and the uptraining and upskilling of people that we were given as the excuse for the smear tests. Yeah, sorry, just that we need to know that we've democratic public control. Why not start anew? Why not scrap the smear tests completely, actually, and just start with the HPV, which is a much higher test. I don't understand. This was meant to start last winter, or sorry, in November, I think. It hasn't started. It's been put back. We're now retelling women to get smear tests done. Why would you not start with the HPV testing and do it under public ownership and control in our health system here, where we have done with the outsourcing of the past, and restore the faith of women in the cancer screening service?
Thank you.